Hey YouTube, Puff and Snuff here, Ian, checking in as always from beautiful Northeast Ohio. Down here in the basement this evening with a pipe, and in desperate need of both a hairbrush and a shave, but it is early evening New Year's Eve. I'm not planning on leaving the house until I go back to work Tuesday morning, so I guess I'm not all that concerned. Smoking, for those that are interested, some Chelsea Morning, which is a GLP blend. It is a probably a moderate to mild Latakia blend that incorporates Perique. So it's a little smoky, a little woodsy, but spicy as well. Really, really nice blend. If you're familiar with like Dunhill Early Morning Pipe, imagine that, a little more Latakia, and then a nice big pinch of Perique. Smoking it in this Peterson Emerald rusticated. I've had this for probably 12, 13 years. This is the third pipe I ever bought, and I think if you don't count Briars, if you don't count Cobbs or Mearshams and only talk about the Briar pipes, I think this is the third pipe I ever bought, and the first that I ever dedicated to Latakia blends. So, I don't smoke Latakia anymore like I used to, but every now and again, I like to go back to it. Anyway, let me get a light on this. Great little Jetline soft flame lighter. Anyway, this time of year, YouTube, pretty common for people to jump on and do kind of year-end videos talking about their favorite blends of the year, etc. I'm not going to go down that road, but to use kind of a cliche, I think 2016 had a lot of news and a lot of changes in the pipe and all tobacco hobby that, I thought it was appropriate to jump on and just talk for a few minutes about kind of the year that was, so to speak. And unfortunately, most of it has been bad news for us. From a kind of a government standpoint, we are certainly staring down the tracks at a train coming straight for us. In EU, we know that tobacco regulations over there have made the snuff industry really suffer. We've already seen a number of major manufacturers scaling back operations, reducing their catalog, limiting the volume options for purchasing. And none of that's good news. Over here in the States, obviously, with the FDA's deeming regulations, if they go off the way they are written on paper, you're just not going to see new pipe blends, and you're going to see a lot of the newer pipe blends already on the market start to disappear. What are you going to do, I guess? I'm still not convinced there's reason to panic here in the States. I've done my level best to not get political on this channel. There are some folks that subscribe or watch videos from time to time that I know outside of YouTube, outside of tobacco hobby. I'm talking friends, family, co-workers, past and present, that know me with no relation to a shared enjoyment of tobacco. And they know that I am relatively politically informed, and I do have very strong opinions, and I try not to bleed that into this channel. So just to kind of take a risk here and start going down that path and to keep my own kind of editorializing out of it, I think that if you're in the U.S., if we were going to get any help on the tobacco front, it was only going to come if our most recent elections went exactly the way they did. And that's not intended as a pro-anybody or anything statement. Obviously, tobacco is not the most important issue in the most recent elections here, and I don't mean it to sound as if it is. However, if the pipe tobacco and cigar industry was going to get any relief from the FDA, it was only going to come with a Republican-led Congress, both houses, a presumably conservative Supreme Court, and a very pro-business president coming into office. So all other thoughts about that and the scope of that whole thing aside, limited only to its relevance to our hobby, it's the closest thing to good news we were going to get in light of what we saw. But, I mean, in 2016, you know, it's not just the politics. I mean, we lost some important stuff. Snuff especially. Mullins, the Crawlings, they folded up operations earlier this year. So once the retailers and e-tailers sell through the last of their stock, they're gone for good. Of course, we lost Chef Dan way, way too early. And so Old Mill snuff is also a thing of the past. So just it's been a rough year for folks in this hobby. Personally, I'll be honest, those losses aside, I had a pretty nice year related to tobacco. It really, really expanded my snuff horizons this year. Really tried out a lot of new tobaccos, especially within the Toke line. A whole bunch of new Schmalzlers, and there will be reviews on a whole slew of Bernard snuff coming up early in the new year, starting probably next week. So keep an eye out for those. Snus, thanks to Chris over at In a Pinch, I'm trying all sorts of new snoozes that I'd never even been exposed to, that I never even knew were out there, to be honest. So that's been good personally. Haven't really kind of branched out in terms of pipe smoking, which is kind of a good thing. This year I kind of got away from the trying a little bit of this and a little bit of that I've been doing for the last few years, and it's just kind of been hanging out with the old favorites and remembering why I liked them so much and why I stocked up on them so much. So it's been a much more laid-back kind of approach to pipe tobacco this year for me. So personally, of course, the Chicago Cubs are the world champions, and I can't say that often enough to remind myself that it's true. So while it has been a very poor year for the tobacco hobby in general, personally, I'm satisfied with what I've done and what I've experienced this year. I expect that 2017 is going to be a lot more of the same for me. Still have a bunch of snus right over there is the snus fridge. A whole bunch of snus in there waiting to be cracked and tried. A whole bunch of snuff that I haven't tried yet that I'm ready to dig into. So looking forward to doing all that. I do have a couple tobacco-related New Year's resolutions, right? In light of everything that's going on, I think we should all be mindful of building a cellar and building some reserves. And I actually came a long way in this past year. My snuff fridge is up to just over 2 kilograms of snuff. My goal is to get that to 2,500 grams by the end of 2017, which should be no big deal. That should be easy enough to achieve. My pipe cellar, currently just short of 45 pounds. I would like to get up to 50 by the end of the year. That may be a little more of a stretch, depending on what happens with the old budget. But I think in the last 20 months, maybe 20, 21 months or so, I've gone from 32 pounds up to 45. So even adding at a slower pace than I have lately, I should be able to get there. So, those are my goals, honestly, as far as tobacco. The goals are not to try new things. The goals are not, I've kind of come to realize in this hobby, those things are going to happen naturally. Someone will always ask you to try something. Someone will always want to trade something. You'll always be going to buy something and throw something new in the basket anyway. So the goal isn't to branch out. That's going to happen. The goal is to prepare, but not in a way I think that is irresponsible. I still I still, even though all evidence points to the contrary, I don't think it's yet time to panic, especially when it comes to pipe and cigar tobacco. So slow and steady, I think, is going to win the race there. As far as this channel goes, I think 17 is going to look a lot like 16. I think there will continue to be snuff reviews. There will continue to be snus reviews. Hopefully, I did, if you go back over the last couple months, I did a video, a side-by-side with Chris over at In a Pinch. Did one with Snuff Anybody McFeagle. I'd really like to do some more of those this coming year. Those were a lot of fun. So if anybody that subscribes to this channel is also a YouTube presenter, or is thinking about starting a channel and wants to be a YouTube presenter, you know what? If you wanna, do some Skype calls here and talk through some stuff and jump on and do some videos together, absolutely send me a message. It'd be a pleasure. Would love to get into that in the coming year. So I guess that's really it. I mean, that's kind of a rather dim year in review, although the Cubs are still world champions. But hopefully a slightly more positive outlook of what's to come. So all in all, pretty self-indulgent and pointless rambling video here. So I guess I'll close it out. It is, I think it's about 5:30 in the afternoon here locally, New Year's Eve. So the new year starts here in 7 or 8 hours. So Happy New Year to all of you. Hope you guys get a chance to enjoy the pipe, cigar, snooze, snuff, whatever of your choice. Be safe. If you're going out, it's always a crazy night. For me and Mrs. Puff and Snuff, New Year's Eve has always kind of been a sweatpants and Netflix marathon kind of day. So, guys, that is all for me. Seriously, thanks for stopping in all year. Thanks for all the comments this year and everything. And let's keep it going into 2017. Have a great New Year, guys. We'll see you later.